This happened a few months ago. I was in my early 30s and had just gone through a tough breakup. I moved to a small town to work from home, hoping it would help me focus. The house I rented was an old Victorian. At first, it seemed charming, but it was creaky and full of dark corners. I thought I could find peace here, but I was wrong. One night, a huge thunderstorm rolled in. The sky darkened fast. I was at my desk trying to work. Thunder crashed, rattling the windows. I saw a flicker of light in the attic. I figured it was just the old wiring acting up. But then I felt a chill. It was odd. I didn't know why it made me feel so uneasy. From that night on, the storms came more often. Each time, I heard thudding noises from the attic. It sounded like something was moving up there. My heart raced every time I heard it. I would look up at the ceiling, half expecting something to fall. When the lightning struck, it lit up the room, and I thought I saw shadows flickering outside. My mind was playing tricks on me, or so I told myself. Then there were the patterns on the windows. One morning, I grabbed my coffee and noticed strange shapes in the condensation. They looked like hands, or maybe faces. I rubbed my eyes, feeling like I was being watched, but I saw no one outside. I tried to shake it off, but it clung to me like a spider's web. While in the kitchen, I stared out at the woods. I thought I saw movement there. It was just the wind. Yeah, that had to be it. But every storm brought that creeping feeling back. I kept running my hands through my hair, trying to stay calm. My eyes wandered to the attic door. It seemed different, almost like it was calling me. I shook my head to clear my thoughts. Then the final storm came. The thunder was louder than ever. I sat on the couch, clutching a pillow. I wanted to be brave. Then I heard it, a loud bang from above. My heart stopped. It knocked again, persistent. I grabbed my phone, wanting to call for help, but then there was silence. That's when I saw it. A figure appeared in the attic doorway. I blinked, thinking I was imagining things. My body felt frozen. The storm raged outside, but that shadow held my attention. I couldn't look away. I held my breath, waiting. In that moment, curiosity surged through me. I felt pulled toward the attic. I wondered what was up there. Maybe the figure was something real. I felt a mix of fear and excitement. I wanted to know what it wanted. I stood up, my heart racing. Each step felt heavy as I approached the door. Was I really going to open it? Could I handle whatever waited for me in the dark? As I reached for the attic door handle, I hesitated. My mind was screaming for me to turn back, but my body wouldn't comply. It was almost magnetic, that door. The casual creak of the floorboard beneath me felt like a warning. I pushed down the handle, and the door swung open with an aged groan. The attic was dark. The only light came from the flickering flashes outside. Each bolt of lightning revealed dusty old furniture shrouded in sheets. Shadows danced across the walls, casting eerie shapes. I squinted, trying to see through the gloom. "Hello?" My voice trembled as it broke the silence. No answer, just the distant rumble of thunder. I took a step in, the wooden floorboards creaking under my weight. I wanted to search the space, but fear gripped me like a vice. What if the figure was up here? What if I wasn't alone? I moved further, feeling the cool air prick at my skin. That strange feeling of being watched returned, stronger now. It felt as if countless eyes were peering down on me from the rafters. I shook my head, trying to clear the sensation. It had to be the storms messing with my mind. Then I saw it. A glint of something silver near the back of the attic. Drawn by some undeniable force, I stepped closer. Each sound amplified. The creak of my shoes, the rustle of the sheet as I brushed past furniture, the constant boom of thunder outside. There, on an old table, lay a vintage mirror. Its surface was tarnished, but it caught the lightning's light, illuminating dust particles floating in the air. I picked it up, wiping the grime away. My reflection stared back, but it felt empty. It was as if the person in the glass wasn't quite right. Then I noticed a shadow flickering behind me in the mirror. I spun around, heart racing. The attic remained empty, but the shadow lingered in the glass, changing shapes. Sometimes a face, sometimes just a mere blur. I felt a chill run down my spine. "What the hell?" I gasped, clutching the mirror. My instinct screamed at me to leave, but an odd curiosity kept me rooted in place. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the attic. I yelped and barely held on to the mirror as I turned to see what had fallen. An old trunk had toppled over, spilling its contents. Dusty books, yellowed pages, and a single photograph. I approached cautiously, my breath tight. Something about this trunk felt significant. I bent down, reaching for the photo. As I lifted it, a wave of cold washed over me. In the picture, a family stood outside this very house, but their faces were distorted, their eyes wide with fear. Was this the same entity I'd seen in the attic? I dropped the photo, and the moment it hit the floor, everything went dark. The storm raged louder now, and my heart pounded in my chest. Now, I was not just afraid, I was terrified. I turned to leave, but the attic door slammed shut on its own, trapping me inside. The shadows began to close in, and I began to understand. The attic was alive, holding on to secrets that were never meant to be uncovered. Whatever awaited me in the dark was far worse than I could have imagined. Then I heard it, a whisper, chilling and familiar. "Stay with us." And just like that, I knew I was far from alone. I flinched at the whisper, my heart racing faster than I thought possible. "Stay with us." The words seemed to echo off the walls, reverberating in my mind. I took a shaky step back. I was trapped, and my instincts screamed at me to find a way out. The flicker of lightning illuminated the attic again, and the shadows shivered with life. That glimmering mirror reflected something else now, a deeper darkness that clung to the edges, just beyond my sight. I turned to face it, though that instinct to run bubbled beneath the surface. I was frozen, unwilling to face whatever was behind me, yet drawn to the mirror's secrets. I ran my fingers along its frame, feeling the rough wood beneath my touch. I needed to understand. Maybe the mirror held answers, or more questions. Just as I began to peer closer, the attic shook with a violent crack of thunder, rattling the old beams above. I stumbled, and the mirror slipped from my grasp, crashing to the ground. It shattered, pieces scattering like my thoughts. Before I could process what had happened, a wave of energy hissed through the air. It felt electric, cold, and invigorating, unlike anything I had ever experienced. I turned away from the shards, but the pieces glowed in the dark, casting flickering patterns on the wooden beams. "Stay with us," the whisper came again, louder this time. It felt as if shadows were surging forward. I looked around, my breath hitching. There were figures now, distorted shapes pressing against the walls, their eyes vacant but filled with urgency. They seemed desperate. "Join us." I couldn't understand what they meant. Who were they? I felt my back against the door, a frantic pulse of energy thrumming in the room. I needed to escape, but where would I go? I forced myself to run, pounding against the door, but it wouldn't budge. It felt like a heavy force pinned it closed, as if the house itself was holding me in place. "Please," I shouted as panic seized me, "let me out." My voice echoed, but it barely broke through the thunder outside. The figures converged, moving closer. I caught glimpses of their twisted faces in the shadows. They reached for me, their limbs elongating and twisting unnaturally. Then, by the edge of my vision, I saw something shimmer. It was the photograph I had dropped. I stumbled toward it, desperate to grab on to anything familiar, anything real. My fingers brushed its surface, and an overwhelming warmth coursed through me. Suddenly, memories flooded in, images of laughter and sunlight, places filled with joy. But dark patches hovered in the corners, making me realize that path always led back here. As the figures closed in, I lunged toward the window, hoping for a chance at escape. I gripped the latch, but found it cold and unyielding. Just as they reached out for me, I caught a glimpse of something in the remaining shards of the mirror. It wasn't just my reflection I saw, but another figure, shrouded in darkness, yet I felt a strange connection. That's when I knew I wasn't just trapped by the house. There was something much deeper entwined with my fate. Each jagged shard revealed pieces of a puzzle that was slowly coming together. Maybe understanding was the key. I took a breath. "Show me," I whispered. "Show me what you want." With that simple plea, the shadows paused. A hush fell over the attic, the storm outside fading. The figures waited, expectant. I felt them urging me to see. The air thickened with tension as I sensed something stirring in the depths. Before I could register if it was hope or dread, the floorboards groaned beneath me, and I stepped backward, ready for whatever came next. The silence that followed was unsettling. The air felt heavy, charged with anticipation, but I couldn't tell what I was waiting for. The figures were still there, freezing mid-motion, their eyes watching me. I couldn't help but feel some connection, even as fear pulsed in my chest. Then I heard it, a soft crackle, like the sound of static electricity. I turned my head toward the origin, and that's when I saw it. A glowing orb emerging from the shards of the mirror. It hovered just above the floor, pulsing gently, casting a soft light that illuminated the darkness. I felt my heart seize in my chest. What was that? The orb drifted closer, weaving elegantly through the air. The figures followed its path, their expressions shifting from urgency to something softer. Hope, maybe? I reached out a trembling hand, almost instinctively, mesmerized by the glow emanating from the orb. As my fingers brushed its surface, a rush of images flooded my mind again, but these felt different. They were vivid, overlapping memories unlike the last. They showed moments of fear, dark places, frightening shadows, and whispers that echoed like the ones in the attic. The whispers intensified, morphing into a cacophony that screamed for attention. "Make it stop," I gasped, clutching my head as the memories imprinted themselves on my thoughts. The orb pulsed brighter in response, forcing me to focus. I thought I could see faces in the light, faces that looked like the figures watching me, faces twisted by despair and longing. "What do you want?" I yelled, desperation creeping into my voice. "Why are you here?" Suddenly, the orb shot upward, disappearing into a swirling vortex of glowing fragments that swirled around the attic, swirling faster, and the wind howled, lifting dust and scraps into the air, and I stumbled backward, instinctively shielding my face. The figures began to dissolve into the shadows, their forms blending into the darkness around me, leaving behind a trail of flickering light. The swirling fragments coalesced into the shape of a door, outlined in shimmering light. It sparkled like a portal, a promise of escape, yet marred by an ominous sense of foreboding. My heart raced as I took a hesitant step forward. It was beautiful, but what lay beyond that door? Would understanding bring clarity, or would it plunge me deeper into chaos? The air shifted as I approached, the shadows pulling back as if afraid of the light. I glimpsed something, an outline, a figure lurking just behind the door. A chill ran down my spine. This was no simple choice. I had to see what was waiting for me. I reached for the handle, but as my fingers touched it, the world around me shifted. In a heartbeat, I found myself back in the attic, the whispers drowned out by a new, low growl resonating from the walls. Panic clawed at me again, a new dread settling in my chest. This time, there was something else, a shadow creeping along the floor, sharp and menacing. "Leave!" I shouted, but the shadow only crept closer, weaving through the shattered remnants of the mirror. My pulse quickened as I recognized that whatever I had unleashed was far from finished. I had disturbed something that could no longer hide. I stumbled back, caught between the swirling energy of the door and the danger creeping ever closer. I had thought understanding was the key, but instead I was just awakening something darker. I backed away from the shadow, my hands trembling as I tried to gather my thoughts. The air was thick with tension, and I felt like I was suffocating. The growling noise reverberated off the walls, shifting in pitch as the shadow advanced. I could almost feel its cold breath against my skin. What did I do? I had wanted to know the truth, but I couldn't comprehend what was happening now. I needed a plan, and quickly. I searched my surroundings for something, anything that could help me. The attic felt like a prison, each angle closing in as fear gripped me tighter. Then I remembered the door, the glowing portal. If I could just get back to it, maybe it would offer a way out. Mustering every ounce of courage, I darted toward the shimmering outline. The shadow hissed, its growl escalating into an ear-piercing wail, and I felt a rush of adrenaline propel me forward. But as I neared the door, the shining light flickered. It dimmed slightly, as if sensing my urgency. No, I couldn't lose hope now. I reached for the handle again, ready to turn it and leap into whatever lay beyond. Just as my fingers wrapped around it, I caught a glimpse of the shadow. It wasn't just a shadow. It was taking shape. Dark tendrils twisted and coiled, forming a figure that I hadn't noticed before. A face emerged, eyes piercing and hollow, and I froze. It looked at me, devoid of emotion, yet I felt the weight of its gaze push me back. "Who are you?" I choked out, voice trembling as I tried to keep grounded. I had to know, even if it terrified me. Slowly, the figure's lips curled into a wicked smile. "You called us." I didn't understand. I didn't mean to. Just leave me alone. My retreating steps were halted by the wall behind me. "You sought the truth," it hissed, "and now you must face what you've awakened." The shadows around it seemed to ripple, reaching for me. Panic clawed at my throat as I twisted the handle. The door didn't budge. "No, please," I screamed, the fear boiling over. "Your choices have consequences," the figure said, its voice low and menacing. "Embrace the darkness, or be consumed by it." With every word, the shadow advanced, and the room felt smaller. I caught sight of the remnants of the mirror scattered on the floor. Perhaps they held a clue, or a way to fight back. I didn't have much time. I turned my attention towards the fragments, heart racing. But just as I leaned down, the pressure building in the room exploded. The attic shook violently, and the wind whipped around me like a living entity. Everything became a whirlwind of shrieks and howls. I was losing my grip on reality. Suddenly, the glowing orb reappeared, hovering above the chaos. It beckoned to me, pulsating with an intensity that demanded attention. As the shadows closed in, I noticed something different about it this time. There was a flicker of recognition in its glow, as if it too was aware of me. Could it save me, or was it another trap? I had to decide. I had to act. Before fear could paralyze me again, I made my choice, launching myself toward the pulsating light. And that's when the room went dark. I felt a jolt as the darkness swallowed me whole. It was disorienting, a sudden shift from the chaos of the attic to an eerie stillness. The absence of sound was jarring, a stark contrast to the howls that had surrounded me moments before. I blinked, trying to adjust, but there was nothing to see, just an endless void. Slowly, I gathered my thoughts. Was I dead? Had I slipped through some sort of veil between realities? A cold chill ran down my spine. Suddenly, a faint light flickered in the distance. It wasn't the same portal I had leaped toward, but a small glowing orb hovering above what seemed like a flat surface. With cautious steps, I moved toward it.
Each footfall echoed, unsettling in the emptiness. The glow intensified as I approached, revealing a surface beneath it. To my horror, it looked like glass, reflective and smooth, but with dark
shapes writhing beneath the surface. The shadows were back. "What is this place?" I breathed, the words hanging in the air like a fog. The orb pulsed, almost rhythmically, as if responding to my question. I leaned closer, peering into it. A face swam into focus, a familiar one. It was my own, but twisted, marred by shadow. I recoiled, stumbling backward. My heart raced as dread coiled tight in my gut. As I steadied myself, the surface rippled, distorting the reflection. "You have questions," the shadows whispered in a symphony of voices. "This is where truth resides. Here you will find answers." "No," I shouted, stepping back. "I don't want answers if this is what they look like." Panic surged through me. I turned to run, but the orb brightened, bathing the space in light. The shadows beneath the glass writhed with renewed vigor, dark tendrils stretching upward toward me. "Why do you resist?" The voices coiled around me, soothing yet sinister. "You have already called us. We are your truth, your shadow." "Stay away!" I screamed. I dashed to my right, searching for a way out, but the landscape shifted and twisted with each step. I felt lost, disoriented by the fabric of this place. Reality felt unstable, like I might fall into the dark depths at any moment. Then I heard a low rumble, a sound that felt familiar, and fear clawed at my throat again. Thunder? Was I back in the attic? The thought sent a chill down my spine. With urgency, I turned around, finding that the orb was no longer just floating. It had expanded, morphing into a swirling vortex, drawing shadows from all around. I realized I had to face it. "What do you want from me?" I shouted into the swirling mass. I felt the world shifting again, the glass floor trembling beneath my feet. "Your truth," the voices echoed, firm and unyielding. "Accept it, or be consumed." The room spun, and everything blurred. I steadied myself, feeling panic swell within me. I needed to make a choice, and quickly, before the darkness overwhelmed me again. Then, everything fell silent, and that's when I saw it. A shadowy figure emerged from the other side of the vortex, its features sharp and unmistakable. I knew that face, and with it came the realization that this was only the beginning of something much worse. I felt my breath catch in my throat as the figure stepped into the light. It was me, but not quite. The eyes were hollow, and the smile twisted into something cruel. My reflection grinned back like a grotesque caricature. "You've come to find me," it said, voice echoing like shards of glass. I froze, horrified. "What are you?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The dark version of myself laughed, a chilling sound that sent a shiver down my spine. "I am what you hide from, the truth you fear to acknowledge." It stepped closer, and I instinctively backed away, but the vortex pulsed and swayed, leaving me with nowhere to go. "Stop!" I shouted, trying to sound firm, but it came out shaky. "You're not real." "Am I not?" it taunted, moving with unsettling fluidity. "You think you can outrun your shadows. You brought this upon yourself when you called," it sneered, the shadows behind it writhing in agreement. I pressed a hand against the glass-like surface. "I'm not like you. I refuse to be consumed." The words felt hollow given the panic rising within me. What if this was something I couldn't escape? What if this darkness really was me? As if sensing my uncertainty, the vortex rumbled. The shadows seemed to pulse with life, forming tendrils that lunged toward me. I gasped, pulling away, but they brushed against my skin like icy fingers. "Accept your truth," the voices sang, weaving through the air around me. I could feel the energy around me shifting, growing heavier as I fought against the tendrils wrapped around my legs. "No!" I yelled, summoning every ounce of will I had left. "I won't let you take me!" The figure stared at me, its eyes narrowing in mock disappointment. "You think you can deny what is already within you? The storm rages because you've refused to see." Suddenly, a blinding flash lit the void, and I shielded my eyes. When it faded, the dark figure was gone, leaving behind an empty space where it once stood. But the shadows, they still twisted and writhed beneath my feet. A sense of dread seeped back in, stronger now without its haunting presence. I took a moment to breathe, trying to calm my racing heart. If I had pushed the figure away, why did the truth still loom over me? Was I still trapped, or just biding my time? I glanced back at the swirling vortex, now spinning erratically, as though waiting for my next move. Then I heard it again, a low rumble, the sound of thunder. It echoed from within the vortex, growing louder, mixing with the whispers of the shadows. "Your choices are limited. You must confront the storm." With every ounce of courage I could muster, I stepped toward the edge of the swirling chaos. "What do I need to do?" I asked, my voice trembling in the air thick with fear. The orb flared one final time, casting an eerie light over my reflection. "Go deeper. Seek the storm within." A surge of energy lifted me off my feet, and before I knew what was happening, I was engulfed in a flash of light, plunging into the darkness again. All I could think was that I was unprepared for what lay ahead. What truths would I uncover? Would I ever escape? My heart raced as I descended into the unknown, and panic clawed deeper than ever. I tumbled through darkness, feeling weightless and lost. It was as if I were falling through an endless void.
Suddenly, the swirling chaos gave way to a strange, dimly lit landscape. The ground felt solid beneath my feet, yet I sensed a chill creeping up my spine. I glanced around, trying to make sense of my surroundings. Dark clouds swirled above, and flashes of lightning illuminated jagged mountains in the distance. I was no longer in the vortex, but I wasn't free either. In the air hung an electric tension. Somewhere close, thunder rumbled ominously. "Where am I?" I muttered, though I suspected it was a question without an answer. Then I heard it again, a low whispering, more insistent this time. "Find us. Find your truth." The shadows darted just beyond my peripheral vision, whispering secrets that I couldn't quite grasp. Apprehensively, I moved forward, and with each step, the whispers grew louder. They were urging me to keep going. I wished I could silence them, but they seemed to pull me in. After a few moments, I arrived at a clearing. In the center stood a massive stone archway, dark and weathered. I felt drawn to it, though a warning alarm rang in my head. As I approached, I noticed intricate carvings covering its surface, symbols I didn't recognize. Curiosity mingled with dread as I reached out to touch the arch. A powerful jolt shot through my fingertips. Images flickered in my mind, memories, emotions, moments I'd buried deep, fear, regret, moments of joy that had turned bittersweet. They flashed like lightning, bright and sharp, then faded into the shadows. "Stop!" I shouted, yanking my hand back. "I don't want to see this." But the archway pulsed with an energy of its own. The whispers sank into a low hum. They felt more collective now, like a chorus beckoning me to step through. What lay on the other side? I could sense an answer waiting, but it felt perilous, like stepping off the edge of the world. Just then, a distant growl echoed behind me, heavy and menacing. I turned, heart racing, but saw only darkness creeping closer. Panic surged again, pushing me toward the archway. I couldn't go back. I couldn't face what was behind me. Before I could second-guess myself, I stepped through the arch. Instantly, a wave of heat washed over me, and I found myself in a vast chamber filled with shadows. The walls shimmered, reflecting the swirling darkness of the storm outside. I felt trapped, but simultaneously exhilarated. "That's when I saw it," I whispered, my eyes adjusting to the gloom. A large, shadowy figure loomed in the distance. It was vague, but something told me it was significant. The whispers crescendoed into a symphony of voices urging me to approach. "What do you want from me?" I called out, fear tightening my throat. The figure trembled, shifting. I held my breath, unsure of what would happen next. Would I find answers or discover deeper horrors? Just as the figure began to take form, a deafening crack of thunder reverberated through the chamber, shaking the
ground beneath me. I braced myself. This was only the beginning. The figure before me materialized into a humanoid shape, cloaked in shadows. I squinted, trying to discern any features, but all I perceived was an outline, a silhouette that flickered like a candle's flame. It seemed both familiar and terrifying. With the air thickening around me, I felt a pull, a need to step closer. "Who are you?" I ventured, my voice trembling despite my efforts to sound firm. The shadows seemed to absorb my words, then return them as a whisper, echoing in the chamber. "We are the echoes of your past." What did that mean? I didn't understand. I could feel the memories I had touched at the archway churning within me. Those fleeting images pushed back, rising like a tide ready to crash. I wanted to resist them, but the figure beckoned me closer with an otherworldly patience. As I stepped forward, the atmosphere shifted. A fog seeped through the cracks of the chamber, swirling around my legs. It felt alive, wrapping around me as I made my way toward the figure. Panic surged within. "Please, just tell me what you want." Suddenly, the figure lifted its arm. The shadows peeled away, revealing a shimmering surface, something like glass. Within it, I could see distorted images, fragments of my life flashing before me, moments I had forgotten, choices I wished I had made differently. It felt like a window to my soul, and yet I did not want to look. "How can I find my truth if I can barely recognize myself?" I shouted, desperation creeping into my voice. "I don't understand." The figure didn't respond with words. Instead, it pointed to an image that caught my breath, a scene from my childhood, a day spent by the river. I was laughing, carefree, with my best friend by my side. It felt vivid, yet distant. I realized I hadn't thought of that day in years. As I stared, the reflection darkened, and I saw a shadow fall over us. A feeling of dread washed over me. I remembered the pain of that day, the sudden loss I had faced. My laughter trailed off, replaced by silence and grief. The whispering intensified, surrounding me, pulling me into the darkness of that memory. "No!" I gasped as the chamber trembled again, the whispers rising into frantic cries. "Get away from me!" I turned to flee, but found my back against the wall, the shadows encroaching, blocking my way out. It was closing in, squeezing the air from my lungs. Just when I thought I couldn't escape, the figure spoke, its voice a low rumble. "Confront what haunts you, and you will find what you seek." Every ounce of fear jolted through me, igniting a flash of defiance. "I won't let you control me," I yelled, summoning every bit of courage to break free from the shadows. But just as I stood firm, the wall cracked, splitting wide. I stumbled backward, the ground trembling violently beneath me. My heart raced. What lay beyond that crack? Would I uncover more hidden truths, or would I plunge deeper into darkness? Then the answer revealed itself. Out of the fissure rushed a brilliant light, spilling into the chamber like spilled ink, blinding and overwhelming. I had to decide. Would I face the light or be consumed by the shadows? The light surged, and I knew I couldn't hesitate any longer. With my heart hammering in my chest, I leapt toward it, embracing the illumination as it enveloped me in its embrace. In an instant, everything changed. No longer was I surrounded by the suffocating shadows. I felt the chill of darkness behind me, but was pulled forward by the warmth pressing against my skin. I landed on the wooden floor of the attic, panting heavily, the storm still howling outside, but faint now, a distant echo. The figures were gone, and the room felt strangely empty, as if a great weight had been lifted. I glanced around, clutching my chest as I processed the whirlwind of emotions swirling within me. In front of me lay the shards of the shattered mirror, glistening in the dull light, as if holding the remnants of my torment. I bent down, heart racing, and traced a finger over the pieces. The darkness had fused with parts of me, but now I felt different, lighter, as if I had finally faced my own demons. Why had it all been so terrifying? I considered the whispers, the shadow, that hollow reflection of myself. I finally understood. Those fragmented pieces represented everything I had run from. My pain, my regrets, my failures. They were all shadows of who I used to be. I stood, feeling a surprising resilience blossoming inside. There was still fear lingering, yes, but it felt more manageable, like a tempest that had finally calmed to a gentle rain. With a deep breath, I approached the attic door, still ajar from when I had entered. I hesitated, glancing over my shoulder at the remnants of the experience, the shadows that had loomed over me, the echoes of my past. The chaotic swirling of memory and emotion still felt fresh, but I was no longer afraid to confront it. I slowly opened the door and stepped out into the dim hallway. The house was quiet, as if it were holding its breath alongside me. The storm was abating, and sunlight began filtering through the windows, a welcome sight after the wildness of the night. But as I descended the staircase, a thought nagged at me. While I might have escaped the depths of that attic, some questions remained unanswered. Had I truly conquered my shadows, or had I merely put them in their place? What fragments of my past still lingered, waiting to surface? Could I ever be free of the darkness I had seen? I stepped outside, the moist air of the morning wrapping itself around me. The small town was beginning to
wake, life carrying on as if nothing had happened. Yet within me, everything had shifted. I could feel it deep within my bones, an unsettling comfort mingled with uncertainty. As I walked to my car, I turned back to glance at the house one last time, a familiar weight settling in my chest. I still had no clear answers, but perhaps that was okay. Life was a constant journey of confronting shadows, of facing the storms that roared and howled through the mind. I had made it out, and for now, that was enough. But every so often, when the wind howls and thunder rolls through the sky, I can't help but feel a shiver down my spine. Did I banish the darkness, or was it just waiting for another chance to reclaim me? The questions haunt me, lingering like the last echoes of a storm, as I drive away from the Victorian that changed everything.